What is good, everyone? Welcome to a brand new episode of Indie Movement here on eCAV Radio. I'm your host, your boy A Beats, and man, we have a fantastic show for you guys today. My guests hanging out during today's show come from the local record label, The Record Machine, Anna Selly and Stephen Irve. Stephen is a social media director at The Record Machine, and Anna is the marketing manager for the label. They're both fantastic individuals, and we have a lot of fun, as you'll hear throughout the show today. So to get us kicked off, first up is a band from the label called the Illphonics. They just dropped a brand new record, which is actually the label's first hip-hop release, titled Gone With The Trends, on April 1st. The song we're about to hear, man, it is a banger. One of my favorite songs off the album. The track is called Liquid Spaceships. After this song gets done, we'll move right into the interview, which will take us up to our very first break. You're tuned into Indie Movement here on eCAV Radio.
Cause we grown what we own. My syndicates, plots intricate. Stop trying to act hard, you're impudent. You're lacking skills and uninterested. Acting menacing, but just fantasizing. The flow synthesis, incite incidents. Mortal Kombat style, I finish them. Dissemble them as symbols when I disfigure, then dismember them. My venomous glance type lyric spit. On point like the end of a needle tip. The line myriad becomes furious. Penetrating the hearts of those spurious. Them weak songs, we ain't hearing them. Point blank, flat out, never period. So cease and desist the immediate. Straight gang, take notes and immediates. The drop tops, they ride low. The bass heavy, creep slow. We'll ride to the side, watch me roll. Cause that's the type of issue we own. Nobody tryna hear your weak songs. Hey, nobody tryna hear them weak songs. Ride to the side, watch me roll. Cause that's the type of issue we own. Poof, little mouth when the beat gone. Nobody tryna hear your weak songs. Your boring album that's weeks long. And if I transform this into beast mode, a tiger prowling on beef's lawn. It's doggy dog, you a beast, Sean. Filet meat, y'all, you get seasoned. The main course for the flow heathen. Excited I'm glowing like neon. In the cold with my blood punk free, yeah. But your girl keeps coming by to keep warm. Another lonely night, there'll be more. Hey, we ready. Detroit, no shortcuts and no cheat codes. Take overflow like we hold. We keep it 100 like C-notes. The drop tops, they ride low. The bass heavy, creep slow. We'll ride to the side, watch me roll. Hey, cause that's the type of issue we own. Nobody riding to your weak songs. Hey, nobody trying to hear them weak songs. Ride to the side, watch me roll. But that's the type of issue we own. Ride, roll, 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 ride, roll. This the music we ride to. Watching all as we slide through. No competition, we size you. The beat stump much louder than rivals. Poof, young Padawan beat gone. It's a whole nother level that we own. Let weak people ride, no we don't. Liquid spaceship, watch me flow. The drop tops, they ride low. The bass heavy, creep slow. But ride to the side, watch me roll. Hey, cause that's the type of wish we own. Nobody riding to your weak songs. Hey, nobody trying to hear them weak songs. But ride to the side, watch me roll. But that's the type of issue we own.
All right, on the show with me today is Stephen Irve and Anna from
Selly.
Dang it, I already asked you earlier
Right
too
out
how to
the
pronounce it. From The Record Machine. Stephen, you are the social media director, and Anna, you are the marketing manager.
Sure.
Is that right?
They're titles.
Close
Those are
enough.
titles that we generated for ourselves. Yeah, it's kind of just reflective of what we feel like our own role is in the group.
Yeah.
I like her title better than mine.
Yeah, because
just gonna go out
I
and
went
say
to resume building classes in college.
My school didn't offer that.
So how did you guys get in those particular roles at the Record Machine?
I think we both took very similar routes to getting more involved in the Record Machine, in that we both interned there and then eventually decided that it was an organization we wanted to keep working with, and stuck around and built trust and a relationship with Nathan and the other people involved in the organization, and now here we are.
Yes. Same.
So what got you guys involved with music? Kind of walk me through your background. You know, what is it about it that made you passionate and decided, hey, I want to get involved in the industry?
I think I just spent a lot of my formative years like alone in my room listening to music and playing guitar, which I don't really do as much anymore. So luckily I have friends now that I can actually go to shows with and enjoy music with. But no, I always had like that, you know, it's one of those things that it's really hard to explain when you are really connected to music, why it is that you are. It's like that natural kind of inclination that you have. And I remember very distinctly, like the first time I listened to the song Pressed in a Book by the Shins, having this like weird, like clicking moment that it like generated like this sense of just a feeling that I had never felt before listening to that song. And that feeling has been replicated now for me several times in listening to other musicians and the work that they do. And it's like, I don't know, I've never done drugs, but like it's like a drug, and you want to keep going back to it, and it gets more powerful over time. So being a part of making that happen in the world is something that I'm glad I get to do.
Nice.
I got really into going to see live music in high school. I had some friends in some bands, so I'd always go see them when they played out, and I just loved going to shows. I would see them play with, you know, a 3-band bill. I'd see the 2 other bands, fall in love with them, go see their shows. It just kind of kept building. I don't have a musical bone in my body, so working with the Record Machine is a good way for me to pursue my love of music without having any talent for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. I mean,
I work for the
really
Record Machine because I'm a talentless hack. Stephen Airbag.
Yep. Quote that.
What is up? Welcome back to Indie Movement here on eCAV Radio. I'm your host, A Beats, and my 2 special guests on the show with me today are Steven and Anna from the local record label, The Record Machine. During this part of the interview, we find out why both Steven and Anna chose to work at The Record Machine over other local labels. We get to hear about their recent South by Southwest experience and adventures. And we chat about some things that they perhaps look at differently now that they are on the business side of music as opposed to strictly the consumer side. So why did you guys choose The Record Machine over any of the other local labels?
One was definitely seeing the involvement that the Record Machine had in Middle of the Map. Knowing what Middle of the Map was, seeing that it was bringing some really, really interesting and acts that I really loved to town. I was like, man, this is a label that has that kind of power in this city to have that direct involvement in the music scene. And then getting to know the Record Machine, doing a little bit of research after that, knowing the vibe, which is like a weird word to say, I think, but like really there is a vibe to the Record Machine that's like wanting to be very organic and natural in the way that we go about doing things and bringing acts to Kansas City, helping our artists produce music, that it feels very positive. Like there isn't there's no corporate feel to anything the Record Machine does. And granted, I don't think that a lot of the other labels that practice in town have that, but I just really, really identified with what the Record Machine was doing. So I wanted to pursue that option.
For me, it just kind of fell into place. I first interviewed Nathan when I was doing a project in college for how Middle of the Map Fest handles crisis PR. Like what happens if there's a typhoon during, you know, the outside stage. I was really interested in that. The year Fun played, Nathan was telling me that they got a lot of complaints that Beaumont's line was so long because that's right after their huge single came out that they came and played Kansas City. Things like that. Like, how do you handle that? How do you handle all that negative energy coming at you and maintain like the positive vibe of the entire festival? Anyway, so I was interviewing him and I just knew my next semester I had to have an internship. So that night I'm just like, can I get an internship? So it was just like kind of the easiest route. And I've always been a fan of Capybara and Spirit. So I knew I liked the music on the label. And after working with everybody, like the whole Record Machine team, it's just, we all click so well together. It's great. I mean, I wouldn't want to work for not the Record Machine.
Yeah.
So
very cool.
I do also want to say that I remember going through the roster and seeing Cowboy Indian Bear listed. And I was like, I mean, they're not a current operating band for the Record Machine, but I was like, wow, okay, that's cool. I want to work for those people, because I remembered Cowboy Indian Bear being one of those first local Midwest bands that I like got into in high school.
Yeah, I got the Record Store Day 2012, maybe. There's a Split album. Split 12-inch record machine had 6 songs, and Golden Sound Records had 6 songs. And I was a huge fan of that record. I played that over and over, and that kind of kickstarted my record collection. That was like one of the first
handshakes.
Yeah, Secret Handshakes. Okay. That really started my local music record collecting habit.
Are you guys big vinyl enthusiasts?
I just personally purchased my first record player in December of last year, so I've just started my collection, but it is growing rapidly.
When I can afford it, I definitely prefer vinyl.
Yeah.
So,
when I can afford it.
When I can afford it.
As opposed to streaming it for free on Spotify.
I just bought a couple the other day, and it's one of those things when you buy it, you're just like, man, I should not have spent my money on that. But then when it came in the mail, I was really happy.
What artist was that?
I got Sales.
Okay.
Nice.
I got
Very
them.
good investment. I've been thinking
it's
about
a
that
10-inch. It's a good one to have. And then Kississippi, 12-inch from
so
the
you're
record
preparing
in November.
for middle.
Well, yeah, but I
2016.
also really love both those albums because I saw Sales last year, 2015, Middle of the Map, and that was wonderful. And then I've just been listening to Kississippi on repeat. Kississippi is my diet cig.
Yeah, but
if that's fair to say.
my diet sig is now Power Bottom.
Okay.
I have no
Ever
clue
since
what
I-
these
That was a
code
quick
words
turnaround.
mean.
Okay, so quick story, interjection. Steven and I went down to South by Southwest together was that earlier this month? Was that in April?
that was in
March. It's all blending together. In March.
Festival
And
season.
everyone says, like, don't have expectations when you go to South by Southwest. Like, just, live your experience. You're not going to see everyone you want to see. But I went down and I was like, I have to see Diet Sig. There's one band I need to see, and that band is Diet Sig. And luckily, they played super early at the Brooklyn Vegan Showcase at Cheer Up Charlie's.
Yep.
And the first band playing before them was Car Seat Headrest, who I also really wanted to see. So, I got there at 11:45, 11:30 or something, and there was no line, and just went straight in, bought myself a Lone Star, went up to the very front of the stage. There was no one there yet, so I got to spend a good couple hours parked there, talked to a really nice guy named Alan, who is a travel agent from Toronto.
Oh, wow.
Which is very weird because no one who is a travel agent anymore. All of that is done online now. Apparently, I was standing next to Bob Boylan of All Songs Considered and the NPR Tiny Desk concert.
Wow.
And did not know because I'd never seen his face before. But I realized after I saw the pictures that he posted from the show that they were the exact same vantage point as my pictures from the show, but 10 feet to the left.
Sure.
Yeah, so I got to take some really good pictures of that set, and I chatted with Alex, the singer, afterwards, and gave her one of my I take a lot of instant pictures. She was really sweet. I just think they write really relatable music. It's very simple. But then I also post South by got into this band called Power Bottom that I saw at the Riot Room on Wednesday. That are very similar. They make very very similar music, but it's catchy.
Very cool.
So that was a long story.
No, that was good. So actually, I was curious about how your trip down to South by Southwest went.
It was good.
It was a lot of fun.
Because
Yeah.
Record Machine had a kind of a showcase. It was middle of the map showcase. But
Right.
there were 3 Record Machine bands? Noise FM.
Westerners did play.
Yeah, Westerners, Noise
Noise
FM,
did
and
play.
Illphonics.
But that showcase you're talking about, the Middle of the Map showcase, only
Yeah.
Illphonics from our roster was on it.
Okay.
And then it was also Bash, Archie Powell and the Exports, and Sharks in the Deep End.
And Rocket Boys.
Oh, okay, and Rocket Boys also. So 5 bands all together from middle of the map.
It was really cool. It was a real eclectic set. Everyone sounded just different enough to make it really interesting and keep your attention.
How long were you guys down in Austin for?
Just really 2 days, essentially. We left on a Thursday afternoon, drove back on a Sunday morning. So Friday, Saturday.
What
we
other
both have full-time jobs. So
Yeah.
What other acts did you guys see down there aside from Died Sig?
let's see. I also saw Raylan Baxter.
Is that the one I saw? I walked in. I
Yeah,
think, but you guys
at
were
the
up front and I
Swan
wasn't.
Dive.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was really really cool. Yoko and the Onos, they were a lot of fun. These were just ones that we kind of randomly wandered into, and then a few other local groups.
My favorite, P-Lander Z.
Oh yeah, Helander Z was
Best live act.
man. Watch that guy
Ever.
shred a guitar solo from a tree.
He
He
climbed a
literally
tree.
climbed up into a tree and was like, "I don't even want to. I would never want to recreate."
It was
that."
so there's the bottom floor of the venue. Then there's a balcony kind of. It's outside. There's a balcony thing. But this tree overhangs the bottom floor. So he was up probably 30 feet.
30 feet?
Oh
would you
yeah.
say? Yeah.
Easily. If that man fell, game over for P-Lander Z.
Was it the singer guy?
Yeah, Peelander Yellow.
So how did he
Peelander
get
Yellow.
up in a 30-foot tree with his guitar?
He had a wireless thing.
Yeah, but how did he
And
scale a tree with a guitar?
I think
Well-
that he climbed and then someone handed him the guitar.
Peelander
wow.
Purple followed him.
Okay.
Which is another member.
Speaking of the Peelanders and their colors, I think that Steven and I have unofficially decided. So we're showing what's the name of the documentary?
Mad Tiger.
Mad Tiger, thank you. And Peelanders will be there, correct?
Oh yeah, they're playing after the show. It's at Middle of the Mat Fest, the film fest. I think April 28th. I sound like Nathan. It's at Alamo. We're showing the documentary. Then there's a 3-band bill, and Peelander's closing out the night in the Chesterfield, the bar attached to Alamo Draft House.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what they're playing in.
It'll be
It'll be really
cool.
interesting.
Oh, nice.
But I think Steven and I are both going to dress as Peelanders, so we'll both be like monocolor in our wardrobes. If any of you listening want to meet us, that's a good way to find us. I'll be Peelander Maroon.
It's like cosplay, but we're going to a concert.
You'd be
People do that.
Peelander
Yeah.
Salmon.
yeah, I want to pick the most random colors. That's why I'm going with
Taupe.
maroon.
This isn't pink.
Also
This is
because-
beige. Okay, so you're showing me a picture of this right now. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, he's something else. The whole band is just energy, and it's kind of it's like performance art under the guise of punk music.
Yeah.
is what it is.
It is, yeah.
Because they were at Middle last year, yeah?
They've played. This will be their third middle.
And they, I remember when seeing them last year, it was like a game show. It's like
Yeah.
part of it
Yeah.
was a
They-
game show, part of it was like a concert. It was super
They
cool.
pull people on stage constantly.
Yeah.
to do jumping jacks in the background or something ridiculous.
And I was a little skeptical of Peelander Z. Like, I've seen pictures of them, and I was like, what is this group going to bring that's going to be so different? Why is everyone always talking about how great this group is?
Right.
And then I actually saw them live, and I was like, okay, I get it. It's because they climb trees and shred like guitar solos. So
Or their last song during that South by set, they pulled on people from the stage to play their instruments, and then they just all jumped off the stage and like crowd surfed for a bit while other people were on stage playing.
Just, did they tell them, like, okay, you're going to play?
Yeah. They're like, who wants to play bass? And they brought him up. So
Would you guys go back next year?
oh yeah,
definitely.
Yeah?
yeah,
Cool.
Next year
It
I won't
helps
be like
having
it.
somewhere to stay.
That's true.
You don't have to spend money on
Yeah.
staying anywhere, which is great.
Oh, totally. I think that was like I had booked an Airbnb at right around the 21st Street Co-op, and I remember being like, I'm so glad I'm not staying in this place. Like, the 21st Street Co-op was a very interesting place. It was kind of like a grown-up treehouse, but not in a way that you would necessarily want to be
But
spending
more
time
like
there.
a college party kid grown up treehouse.
Yeah, because it was like a block or two from UT, University of Texas. So it was kind of that vibe.
So getting back to music here, getting back to the record label. So what has been the biggest surprise for you guys getting involved on the business aspect of the music side as opposed to the consumer aspect, right? Because a lot of people think, okay, so a lot of consumers now are conditioned to think that music is consumable. However, you guys understand what goes in and all the money and effort that goes into actually releasing a record and taking it from an idea to a physical product out on the streets.
I think I've always had an appreciation for that process, seeing the artistry that goes into it. But I think even more now when you even see like a single released by one band, having a true like appreciation and respect for the amount of work that had to go into that. Not necessarily something that's like a surprise. Like I didn't feel like shocked to learn that there was so much manpower and hours that have to go into the production of even just like 1 3-minute song. But it's definitely changed my viewpoint and made me very like, I very much admire every person who has every step in the process, and knowing that there are so many people in that process. It also makes you really reconsider the way that we pay for music, knowing that like, you know, 1 3-minute song, you might brush it off and be like, okay, whatever, it's just a single, you know, I'll listen to it on Spotify. But that 1 3-minute song probably took the band, you know, how many hours to write, how many hours to practice before they recorded it. Someone had to be there to record the song. Someone's there to like do all the marketing to make sure that people know that the song exists and is out
Someone
there.
has to mix it, master
Someone
it.
is doing, that's like in the studio, and like they're just so many people. So when you think like, oh, I'll listen to it one time on Spotify, and you know they'll get like a penny in royalties, if that, like knowing that penny is going to be split up amongst like 30 people who are all doing
Right.
the work.
Uh-huh.
It just makes you really, really like understand how passionate people have to be to do it, because no one's doing that for the money.
My answer is pretty similar to Anna's. It's just I knew that it was a process. Like I said earlier, I went to friends' shows, and I had friends in bands in high school, and they would record, and so I knew that it was a process. But just knowing that 1 3-minute song took 5 studio hours, which is $150 an hour if you're lucky. It's a lot of money and it's a lot of time, and you just get that appreciation, and on how we pay. Like exactly what Anna said.
All right. And with that, let's go ahead and check out another song from an artist on the Record Machine's roster, the Philistines. This song is called A Twitch of the Death Nerve.
Feel, baby, do you or don't you? Baby, it's real, baby, you want you? You keep it clean, nose, you always get better. You watch your plain clothes, it's 25 to 30. How does it feel, baby, do you or don't you? Where does it go, baby, on the mountains? Where does it flow from? It flows, baby, out of the fountain. Take another trip, I see you getting ready. Oh, here's another tip, you gotta really steady. How does it feel, baby, do you or don't you?
That was A Twitch of the Death Nerve by another artist on the Record Machine's roster, the Philistines. That track is taken off their debut album. That's going to be coming out here end of May, early June, called The Backbone of Night. So if you dug that song, go and check that album out when it drops. Okay, what we're going to do right now is take a very short break. But when we get back, we're going to talk more with my guests in the studio with me today, Steven and Anna from the Record Machine. We're going to find out about some other surprises that they may have encountered, working on the business side of the industry. We're going to figure out how the Record Machine finds new artists and decides to bring them on board. Going to hear what a typical work week looks like for both Steven and Anna, and what 2016 holds for the label. You're tuned into Indie Movement here on eCAV Radio. Welcome back to Indie Movement here on eCAV Radio. I'm your host, A Beats, and if you're just tuning in right now, I want to thank you so much for joining me. If you're returning with us from the break, then I want to give you a digital high five. Boom, there you go. My special guests on the show with me today are Steven and Anna from the local record label, The Record Machine. During this portion of the interview, we find out how The Record Machine locates new artists and decides to bring them on board, hear about what a typical work week looks like for Steven and Anna, and we hear about what 2016 holds for the label. So here we go. Has there been anything else surprising from the business aspect that you thought, oh, I never thought that labels would be involved with this, or I never thought...
Yeah, vinyl takes forever to press.
Yeah.
I didn't think it'd take that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing, just getting vinyl made. It's a huge process, a lot of checks and balances. It's just really in-depth and detailed. And there's a lot that could go wrong. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that can go right, but... that's just a crazy process. Any band that presses vinyl has to have a ton of patience.
Mm-hmm. And it's a limited entity. Like, you know, you can do, one of the band that I was talking about earlier that I saw this week, they just started releasing their records and selling them at shows, and they sold out within like the first week. And now they have to repress and do it all over again. Like, you know, there's a limited quantity that you can produce at a single time. And we, at this, you know, junction into like the music industry's development in 2016, think of music as like this kind of like endlessly consumable thing because we can stream a song on Spotify like 1,000 times in a row and it never goes away. Like it's always there. And that will never like, there's no stock to it. But there, you don't think of records as like something that there's a limited stock of until you're seeing these smaller bands that are paying a lot of money to have them pressed, selling out on their shows and tours and being like, I guess we got to have to press it again. Like, just do it all over again.
Yeah, that's an interesting point that you bring up because with vinyl, like minimum pressing, depending on like what price break points you have, usually it's like 150 or 300 copies. So when you go and you sell out, that's a good problem to have. But then on the other hand, you're like, okay, so what's the next quantity that I order? And you got to be smart about it, or else you're going to have a ton of records in your basement for the next 10 years that have never sold.
Right. There's a more like a business sense logical numbers game there that's way beyond my capabilities as a human. Like, I would never be able to be doing that.
So now do you think that with digital services that gives us more of an insight into how consumers are consuming and purchasing music, and that data is helpful to the label? More so than before, because I think before you would like look at like Nielsen SoundScan to try to get numbers, but now you can quickly see, let's say on Bandcamp or on SoundCloud or YouTube, you can instantly see your hits. You can understand who your demographic is. How does the record machine use that information to help promote and even look for new acts?
Yeah, I mean, looking for new acts, it's always something to take into consideration how big of a pull they have. If we're looking at a band that we want to sign or even that we're just interested in, if they're not bringing people to their shows, if they don't have, I mean, you can see other stats. Like if on YouTube, you can see who views videos, like how many views they have. If they're not doing a lot, it's kind of a red, like an orange flag. We don't want to say no, but we want to be like, there's something going on.
There's no hiding it. You know, like everything is transparent in those numbers, and the numbers don't lie. But you also have to be very, very cautious of how you're interpreting those numbers and making sure that you're reading the right information from them.
Right.
And that can be really, really hard to do.
That's true, because I prefer to listen to music on Bandcamp because no ads and it's real easy. Yeah. For me, at least that's what I prefer. So
I have Spotify Premium.
10 album plays doesn't mean 10 people listen to your album. That just means I really liked your album and I listen to it all day at work. There's nothing special about that. So numbers can be tricky. For sure.
How do you guys find new artists? Walk me through that process for the label when you get interested in something.
Oh, that's all you, dude.
Oh, for the label.
For the label, yeah.
For the label, we have an open submission on the website, so you can just submit your band and all your links to your music, website, social media, and we'll check that out every once in a while. About every couple of weeks, we go through and look at whatever's on there. A lot of the stuff that we really get into is recommendations from friends. Somebody Nathan knows, and I forget their name. They're in the band Tough Slang from Chicago. They turned Nathan on to Ghastly Menace.
Oh, okay.
So just, which we ended up signing and putting out a record for. Just a lot of recommendations like, oh, Spirit is playing with this band. Let's listen to them, and we'll check them out that way. I'd say it's a pretty even split from submissions and recommendations or stuff we just see at a show. It's like, this band's really good. Let's find out more about them and talk to them.
Just being cognitive of who's emerging in the music scene and who is established enough that they have a presence, that they will be selling records and like wanting to play shows, but who also needs that kind of support and wants that kind of support from a record label that we can provide.
Yeah. So like I said, Ghastly was recommended to us, and then Philistines and Light Music were both submitted. They both emailed the record machine and said, hey, here's some of our music. What do you think?
So how do you guys decide on what artists to bring on board? Is it like a collective decision across the label, or is it like there's one person who's really behind it and they kind of push it?
What answer do you want?
Any answer you want to give me, buddy.
It's it's pretty close to a group decision usually. None of us are saying like, this is happening now, and we're all like, oh, okay, I don't like that band.
Right.
It's we all have different music tastes, which I love that everybody at the record machine listens to something different. We all have those common bands that we're like, we can all respect and stuff. So it is a group decision. And a lot of what goes down to it is the band's work ethic. How hard is the band going to work at what they want? And does that correlate with what we want for the band? So it's usually a group decision. We talk about it for a while. We kind of monitor the band, kind of put them through an interview process of sorts, if you will. Like, can they do this? Are they accomplishing this? Things like that. And then we'll get to that point where we say yes or no, kind of a group decision.
Cool.
I feel like I have not been super personally engaged in that process because the last couple of bands that we signed when I was still an intern.
Okay.
And, at that point I was so new to the music scene in Kansas City and also new to the record machine that I was just like, I trust that you guys know who you want to sign, and these bands seem really cool and they're making cool music. So
Walk me through a typical week for each of you in your roles at the record machine.
So I feel like a lot of what I do is I go to a lot of shows.
Yeah.
I like to be present in the music scene, mostly because those people are my friends and I like the music they're making.
Sure.
But also because I want to know what's going on and just be aware of what bands are playing a lot of shows, what their live show is like, what kind of draw they're getting as for their audience. Those are things that I'm really taking into note and taking into consideration when I see live music. But beyond that, which is, that's also something that I'd probably just be doing as someone who likes music and not as a person who works at the record machine. Mm-hmm. My more working aspect is do a lot of the Instagram mostly.
Okay.
Right now.
You may have noticed Anna's holding her super nice camera in her hand.
That's
The
hella
camera
legit.
loves
body
taking
itself
pictures.
is not super nice.
She
I've
has
actually
this-
been shopping for a new camera.
It looks
for a
real
while.
legit.
But
It looks
the
legit,
lens
and it takes great
is-
pictures.
The lens is a Tamron wide angle lens that I've been playing with a lot. It's I go back and forth between the wide angle lens and my 35 millimeter lens. So it's either getting the whole band on stage in this really cool wide angle shot, or it's focusing on this very specific single detail, like the guitar player's hand on the neck of the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So I do a lot of that, mostly because I like it, and I like that I work with the record machine and they give me the opportunity to do that and to explore more of that artistic medium. And I don't know, I think we all just do various functions.
We
When
kind of
things,
all help each
projects
other
come
out,
up,
too.
we're all helping each other out with things, which is a lot of fun. It gives us all a little bit of a hand in every function of the label. But so on any given week, it might be I go to a show for one of our bands, shoot some pictures, or I go to a music video shoot and take some behind the scene shots and chat with the band. Right now, we just released How to Keep Dreaming. So that was a big thing that we were all kind of helping Steven with, but that was really Steven's.
No, it was everybody.
Well, he says that, but
He's a very modest person.
He's very
No, I
honest,
mean,
yeah.
you and Mike and Nathan all helped pick the bands. Nathan built the website. Anna did the album cover and a lot of the promo shoots, promo photos.
And How to Keep Dreaming, that's the brand new Volume 3. That's a brand new
Volume 3.
sampler.
Yes.
That
Right.
the record machine just put out. There's 28 bands
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Kansas City and outside too.
Outside,
little
yeah. We got Mississippi, I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
They're from Philadelphia. They're on it. We got Sharks in the Deep End from Austin.
both of whom will be playing.
So pretty much through there.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of part of it. Some of
we
those
got
outside
we
bands are
reached
playing
out to a
middle.
lot of middle of the map bands to play, and a lot of them were really responsive and got back with us, which is great.
And so really it's a big sampler, and you guys put it up for free download on Bandcamp.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the proceeds, so each volume, I think, the proceeds,
first and the third, at
first
least.
and the third went to an organization. First one was Midwest Music Foundation,
Right.
Fantastic organization. And this one is Spay and Neuter Kansas City.
Yeah,
correct,
it's
yeah.
called Families Better Together. It's
Okay.
a program under Spay Neuter Kansas City. So the album's for free, but if you throw some dollars at it, 100% of the money goes to
Throw us a bone. Throw us, as some might say.
Director of Marketing over here.
That's pretty clever.
Content strategy.
Hashtag.
No, but getting back to the original
Hashtag dogs
question,
Instagram.
I kind of do whatever needs done around the record machine in a week. Right now, I'm working on a lot of write-ups for Middle of the Map and getting things in order for Middle of the Map, which Anna's helping me on. My jobs are just kind of all over the place. Like the last few weeks, the only thing I've really been doing is How to Keep Dreaming. Now that that's done, I'll probably start doing whatever else. Like I said, a lot of Middle of the Map stuff.
Because that's right around the corner.
Yeah, and then when that's done, I'll just do whatever's next.
Yeah.
So.
We're hoping to do another installment. So the How to Keep Dreaming series is this idea of us, because as a label, we can't, sign every band in Kansas City that we like working with or think are making good music.
Right.
So How to Keep Dreaming is a way for us to be involved beyond the scope of our bands and also a few of the shows that we curate throughout the year. So that's looked kind of different along the way. We've done the sampler, we did some live session videos, and we did another sampler, which got even a wider scope of artists. So from that, now we have this like huge composite of like some really, really great artists that we could be doing some more projects with. So we're hoping to expand that scope. And I think that's something that Steven and I are both very invested in doing. And so we have another potential video series coming up that I've been working on and making some contacts for. But because everyone is also preparing for middle of the map right now, it is something that will probably be like late spring, early summer.
So do you have any details you can share on what the scope of the new one is?
Yeah. It's this project that I can't remember like how the idea came to me, but I was just thinking about like, what's a cool video series that we could do? I watch a lot of and listen to like podcasts and like little video series and these things that take a musician and ask them about things that aren't just like, why'd you write about this thing that you liked to write about? and kind of asking these different questions and looking at different things. One thing that I really liked, I saw, this is a tangent, but the Pitchfork over under videos are really funny. Like I like seeing an artist's personality.
Right.
And those videos kind of show that. So I was like, what is something that we could do that isn't already being done by someone to create content that will draw people to the record machine and like create a wider audience range for us, but also get some of those other artists in Kansas City involved. And so the idea for the videos are going to their like practice spaces or recording spaces, somewhere that's like kind of like a sacred band space.
Sure.
And asking them about their creative process there, but specifically how parts of that space like influence their creative process, how they came across that space, why they're using it, as opposed to any other place in the world. And so we have a few people that we've contacted and we're hoping that we'll get those filmed shortly here.
That's very cool. So like a practice space, so kind of where they create the music.
And it it's very interesting to like talk to artists and see the different places that they are working. Like one of the artists we're talking to they've been practicing in like a barn on a farm essentially.
Oh, wow.
Some it's like their mom's basement.
Yeah.
Like some of the very traditional like places like like our bass player's garage or whatever, but then some of these other kind of interesting areas too.
Nice. What else does the Record Machine have in the books for 2016 outside of middle? Because I know that sucks of all your guys' time this time of year.
We're looking at Philistines comes out in May 27. We're dropping the debut Philistines record.
Oh, it's their debut record.
Yeah. They had 2 singles out for a while, and now this is coming up. They
just released the single. Twitch of the nervous system, twitch of the nerve.
A twitch of the death nerve.
A twitch of the death nerve. Gosh.
It was premiered on.
I just kept referring to it as Twitch for a long time.
I think that's how that's what they refer to it as too.
I think it was New Noise magazine, I believe, premiered it. It's also on How to Keep Dreaming Volume 3. But yeah, it premiered just a few days ago. Illphonics came out a couple weeks ago.
Hear that's a sweet record.
I do too. I've heard it, and I know it's a sweet record.
Yeah, those guys are doing some really cool stuff.
So that was a lot of fun for us because that's our first hip hop release, and that really kind of pushes our boundaries of what music we put out, and which I love. I just love that eclectic thing that nothing has to sound the same to be on the same label. So we have those 2. Westerners are supposedly putting an album out soon. I've heard a few of their tracks. Really awesome.
There's a new Westerners track on How to Keep Dreaming.
Yeah, they turned it in a few days before we released it, and I'm really
were
happy
polishing
they did.
And perfecting it up until.
I'm really happy they did because it's a really great track, which they're self-recording and then having Paul Malinowski finish up for him.
Nice.
I think it's going to be a full length that they're doing. That's how they're going to do the whole thing, I believe. Spirit is recording and working on new stuff. They haven't had something come out for 2-3 years.
Yeah, they're kind of seeing this year as like a phoenix rising from the ashes. And a nice chat with Austin the other day about that. So they're hoping to be a little bit more active, especially with their middle set coming up.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
They're always fun to see and fun to listen to.
And fun to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone in that
they got
band.
a lot of personality.
Yeah, they do. They definitely do.
Which they're also, I think they're currently our longest running band on the roster, aren't they?
Yeah.
2012.
I think you're right.
So 4 years. So they have like a rooted history with us now.
They're also the only band
family.
that's played every single middle of the map, all 6 years.
Yeah.
But those are the 2 releases we're looking forward to. We don't have anything else in the books yet, but new bands are coming up, and there's bands that we're looking at, so it's kind of hard to say what's going to happen 6 months from now.
Sure.
And it feels like we've already, I don't know, from my perspective as this like new member of the team, it feels like we've already accomplished so much as a label in 2016. No, like so many of our bands have been putting together new material. We've got How to Keep Dreaming, and that really took off in like September
of 2015.
of 2015. 2015, same thing. So seeing the way that that's already started to like take off is really cool. So I think that there's a lot of momentum right now with the label.
All right, what we're going to do right now is take our very last break, but when we get back, we're going to chat more with Anna and Steven from the local record label, The Record Machine, and hear another artist off The Record Machine's roster. You tune into Indie Movement here on eCAV Radio. Hey friends, I want to welcome you back to Indie Movement here on eCAV Radio. I want to give a special shout out to my guests on the show with me today, Steven and Anna from The Record Machine. As they talked about a little bit, How to Keep Dreaming, The Record Machine just released this amazing compilation that features just a ton of local, mainly local, but some outside of state bands that you can find on their Bandcamp, therecordmachine.bandcamp.com. It's got a whole slew of Record Machine artists and just awesome other artists around the Kansas City area, like Stig Figa, like you've heard on the show before, Nicholas St. James, Full Bloods, Kangaroo Knife Fight, Jessica Page, Youth Pool, Hip Shot Killer, as you've heard on the show before, Brother. I mean, it's just, the list goes on and on. So go and check that out. And all proceeds, if you decide to throw it some bucks, as Steven had mentioned, all proceeds go to Spay and Neuter KC. It's a very, very awesome organization. So go and check it out. You know, what do you got to lose? Okay, so now we're going to dive into the last portion of the interview with my guest today. And then to take us out of the show, we're going to hear another artist off the Record Machine's roster, the Westerners, with their brand new song, I Wasn't in My Right Mind. Catch you guys on Wednesday. I'm your host, A Beats, signing off. How about we get some shout outs? You guys want to get some shout outs?
Yeah.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Let's do that. Oh, okay. I was kind of waiting for this question eventually.
What's MySpace?
I know. You know what? I forgot what meeting we were in.
I mean, I know what a shout out is, but what does it mean specifically to this podcast?
Oh, just to, give props to people that you want to, mention on air.
Sweet.
I do want to tell my story though, Anna.
Sorry.
Jeez. I think we were at a meeting one time and I mentioned the Power Glove and a Game Boy. And I think I got blank stares. You guys know what the Power Glove is?
Yeah.
No.
Jamie, do you know? Okay. Steven, you know though.
I know. I never used one, and I've never seen one in real life, but I've seen them in movies, and I know what they are.
That was the official point in my life where I'm like, yep, I'm old now.
What is a Power Glove?
So, back in the day for Nintendo, NES console, you could put this Power Glove on, and it was like your entire arm. There's like a controller on it, and you had this like little robot over in the corner, and you would plug it in, and it would kind of sense your moves. So it's like, hey, you play handball, and it was like virtual reality kind of handball, just with the Power Glove.
I think I've seen that on old movies.
And then, and then Mike Tyson's Punch Out, and it was super awesome at the time. All right, so shout outs.
My mom and my dad.
Yeah.
Shout out
it
to
is.
them. They put me through college.
There
That's
it is.
awesome. My lovely girlfriend Bailey, who I can probably convince to listen to this, because I think she likes hanging out with Anna more than me.
True.
Now.
I think a lot of people do.
We're fast friends. We went on a triple date. Sorry
We
that you
did.
weren't there, Alex. It was a Record Machine triple date.
My Record Machine fam, and all the bands that gave me tracks for How to Keep Dreaming,
Yeah.
and all the bands that love me as much as I love them. And you for having me on.
Are-
Thank you.
There's a limited number of bands that love you as much as you love them, but only
Let it
because
exist in- it
you
exists in
love
my mind.
music so much. It is unconditional. No one else is capable of that kind of love.
The world is much different inside my head.
Okay, that got real.
I can agree with that. I can aboard with that.
Shout out to my mom and dad who are going to help me with my taxes when I get home.
Oh, dude, serious? You're like right down to the line.
Yeah. I mean, my taxes are really easy because I work for AmeriCorps, so I'm just like, here's my W-2.
Right.
Government's gonna send me a check. Like, I don't make a lot of money. I'm in the like lowest tax bracket income wise. Also, thanks to my mom and dad for giving me like a place to live and stuff while I do this job. Thanks to the Record Machine for taking a chance on a girl from South KC-Mo.
Big chance.
Taking a big chance, letting me live my dream. Thanks to my girlfriend also, we had a fun time at our Record Machine triple date. And thanks to all my friends who don't get annoyed every time I ask them to come to shows with me, and who actually do come to shows with me sometimes.
Nice.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And thanks to all the bands who are working and operating in Kansas City and make this job so lovely and wonderful and make it worth every ounce of effort that we put in. And thanks to our bands specifically, who are not even just in Kansas City. Got bands in LA, Chicago, Milwaukee. I always want to say Minneapolis, but it's Milwaukee.
All right. Well, appreciate you guys coming in today.
Thank you.
Anytime. Thank you.
I wasn't in my right mind. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep or tell time. The universe had drawn a line and said, you better choose a side. So I did what I thought was right. So I did what I thought was right. So I did what I thought was right. So I did what I it's hard, it's hard, it's hard.